Hello everyone, this is Muhammad Fathi, a new video from your favorite course, Analytical SQL. This is session number 6. If you didn't watch the old sessions, please check our playlist down in the description. The first course, we got an introduction and why we need Analytical SQL. The second course was a revision on subquerying group by. The third course was about the CTE and its advantage and difference between it and subquery. Session number 4 was the start of the analytical SQL, and we got the overclose, the aggregates, the sum, and so on, and the difference between overclose or window functions and aggregate functions and group by. The fifth course, we got the rank and its application, how to use it, what is the difference between different types of rank. The sixth course it will be today, and we'll be talking about window frames and intervals. And of course, the time, which is very important thing. Let's go. What we will take today is an introduction on window frames, the rows interval, how many, for example, how many rows before and after your calculation, and we will take it in details, the range interval, and of course the date interval. So let's start our interesting session today. It's very important and a game changing. What is window frames? The window frames defines a subset, like a port of an partition. If you have a company and it has departments, for example, you will make partition by department. What if I want to take a part of this data, not all of the data, and do my calculations on, like in each department, I want a part to calculate it. It's very important for too many business calculations like running totals, moving average, cumulative sum, trend analysis, and so on. For example, if you want to make the sum of a customer for last 30 moving days. So how can you do it with normal SQL? It's very, very complicated. And of course, by default, the partition by takes all the entire partition, but the window frames give us some customization to customize it as we want. What is the window frame syntax? Well, the window frame syntax is number 3. The overclose got 3 clauses or 3 parts, all are optional. The partition by, if you want to group by your calculation on some part of the data, and if you didn't put it, it will calculate for all the data. The order by to calculate the cumulative sum, for example, or cumulative anything, or sorting the data, and it's essential if you use, for example, rank, because rank relied on the column in the order by. But window frames, you can also optional or not, but you need to use it in a lot of business cases. And it's number 3, as you see in the syntax of overclose. But if you don't have partition by, for example, it will be number 2. Now we will talk about the intervals in details. When you make any calculation, you are standing on what? You are standing on the current row. By default, it will calculate the all preceding if you have order by, because it's cumulative, so we'll calculate all the preceding, all the before the current row, and the current row. That is the default behavior of order by. What if you want to customize this? And instead, for example, of calculating all the previous, you want to calculate certain amount of rows, certain amount of the sales, certain amount of time. So you can use the window frame. What if you want to calculate some of the future values? For example, the current row, I want to calculate 2 rows after the current row, or 10 rows after the current row. So here it's very important. Let's take an example. You see the sum, for example, column over, partition by any column, order by any column. Rows between uses the column that is used in the order by. So rows between 10 preceding means 10 before and current row. What if you want to make all the row preceding what you use, and instead of 10 you write unbounded? Unbounded preceding means all the rows before, unbounded following means all the rows after. Of course, as we said, that the default of SQL that it's between the unbound preceding and current row. What if you didn't write the current row? SQL is okay with it. I will put it for you. What if you didn't put the unbound preceding? Also SQL is okay with it. I will put it for you. And here we see that there is no difference between if you put and current row or not, because the running total 1 and running total 2 has exactly the same value. Let's take an example. Imagine that a sales team manager wants you to calculate the moving average sales. What is moving average sales? It means that as we go, you change this average because it's on interval of time or intervals of rows or transactions. He wanted you to calculate the average of each person or any person in the company between the current row and two preceding row or two previous rows. So the total will be 3. Here is the query. You average of the sales amount over order by sales date and rows between two preceding and current date. Two preceding here doesn't mean 2 days or 2 months. It means 2 transactions. Here we didn't partition by the customer, so he wants it partitioned by all the data. Of course, we used round to remove the decimal, and here is the output. So, for example, Charlie got 8,000, and his moving average is 6666.67. That means he added the 5,000, 7,000 because 2 rows before, and the current row divided by 3. And so on for the next rows. Let's take an example on range. What if I have a company and I want to remove the outliers in my calculation? So every one I want to summation, for example, his sales and the before and after people, but should be in range of plus or minus 2,000 or 10,000 or any number I want. Also, if I want to calculate the average of each person, depends on the people around him in performance. Let's see the syntax. The syntax different nothing. And instead of row, you will put range between, and instead of number of rows, you will put the amount. But don't forget, in the order by clause, you need to put the column he will calculate the amount from, which is sales amount. And here is the output. Let's try to understand it together. For example, David got 6,000. He will add all the salesperson who got 2,000 before and 2,000 after. So he will add from the 4,000 to 8,000. So how many he will add? 4 plus 5 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8. How much it will give? 35K. For Evie, for example, although he made 11,000, but he's an outlier, so the summation for people around him was 30K. So, if you want to calculate an average or summation without outliers and you know the person in between, you can use this. What is different between rows and range? The rows restrict the window frame by a specific number of rows, so it focuses on the physical row position only, but the range focuses on the value itself, not on the rows. For example, if you want in rows before and after, but range if you want, for example, 2,000 before and after. Use cases is more than I can mention. Both are used a lot in a lot of cases. And the example rows between 10 preceding and 10 following. Here's the example range between 200 preceding and 200 following. Here the 200 is a value, but the 10 is number of rows. And now to the game changing, to the first part in this session, which is date interval. The date interval is very, very, very important in SQL. And it's very important in the topic of time series analysis, and we will have a session dedicated for this part at the end of this course. What is interval? Well, we use the interval keyword in our analysis. What is interval keyword? It is a period between two dates or two timestamps. The syntax is easy. If you select the current date plus interval, for example, 10 day as future day. How to put the word interval, and then between single quotes, the number, and after it, the value of this number. So you can say 10 months, 10 days, 10 hours, 10 minutes, and so on. And you got different intervals here at the right if you want 7 hours and 45 minutes, and so on. Let's take an example on range of interval. What if you want to calculate all the people who were hired within months before and after this person, or 6 months after this person? So let's put this query into consideration. Select employee name or number, hire date, and count of asterisk. We want to count all the people who were hired before this customer. So, order by hire date range between interval 6 months before and interval 6 months after. So the syntax is a range between, and after it you put the word interval, and then the number of months you want the interval to work on, and number of months you want the interval to work after. As for example, 6 months. You need to put two intervals after the and after the between. So this is how it will work. It will count all the customers 6 months before and 6 months after. And for the second case, it will calculate only the 6 months after. Here is the output. If we can think about Clark had 11 employees before and after. So can you think with me how many employees before? It's easy. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you can calculate that 6 months, 6 people after him, and it's 11, so 11 minus 6 is 5. How many people after him? You will be wrong if you said 6, because this 6 contains him, includes him, because it counts himself. So 5 before and him in the middle and 5 after. For example, Miller didn't have anyone after, okay, but had 6 people before his range, including him, and for the after he had only him, because this interval calculates the current row as well. And here, sadly, we went to the end. If you want the material, you want to ask any question, you have the email on LinkedIn on the description below. Thank you for watching. I'm waiting your feedbacks about this course. Bye.